Hidden in plain sight, members of a secret society walk among us. It's been said that they're a group of business elites. Some people think they worship the devil. Some think they're trying to take over the world. We'll hear directly from members themselves to reveal the secrets of Freemasonry. Over the years, Freemasonry has been the subject of speculation from those who doubt its integrity. It's a favourite of conspiracy theorists from around the world who make all sorts of claims as to what the organisation is up to. We brought these questions forward to John Watts, an assistant provincial Grand Master, to see what he had to say about the various accusations.
Freemasonry in 2017 celebrates 300 years of existence in its current format. It is, without any doubt, one of, if not the most honourable fraternal organisations in the world today. We have 250,000 members. Just in the UK, there's several millions worldwide who really enjoy the fellowship and the companionship of an open and honourable organisation.
My name is Robert Middleton. I'm the Worshipful Master of Peace and Unity Lodge here in Queen Street, Sunderland.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorwood. I'm the chairman of the Queen Street Heritage Trust, who own the Queen Street Masonic Temple, formerly known as the Phoenix Hall. The temple here was built in 1785. It was built by a local lodge called the Phoenix Lodge.
Queen Street Masonic Temple is basically the oldest purpose-built temple in the world. It's not the original. Unfortunately, the original was burned down, and then this was rebuilt after 2 years.
When it burnt down, unfortunately, it took some of their records with them, and obviously left them in a position of having nowhere to meet. So I think they resorted back to meeting at public houses, etc., so that they could keep their meetings going. The lodge chose to call itself Phoenix because obviously the cliche is rising from the ashes, so that's how that name came about.
One of these claims is that Freemasonry is entwined with devil worshipping, and that their use of symbols reinforces their sinister goals. The pentagram and skull and crossbones are commonly used to represent death and dealings of the occult, but Freemasonry claims to use them for more innocent reasons.
In Freemasonry, which goes back many, many hundreds, if not thousands of years before that, to the time when operative stonemasons were building initially pyramids and temples in the Middle East, and then later building the cathedrals and the other significant buildings in the UK and throughout Europe and further wide. And the operative Freemasons, of course, had a lot of symbols. And we can see them on buildings. And those symbols are all representative of the good work that they did. And in modern life, we look at signs and symbols that were used by the stonemasons of old, and we use them to remind current members to be good and honourable members of society.
During the ceremonies, we refer to various tracing boards. The first one is referring to a story relating to the first or entered apprentice's degree. The second one relates to the fellowcraft or second degree. And the third one relates to the third or Master Mason's degree.
Everybody starts off exactly the same way. They all start off coming into a lodge room, they are blindfolded, and they don't have any money or valuables on them. And that's to remind them in their current situation and in their future life that everybody comes into this world with nothing. And then as a member progresses through their Masonic ceremonies, they're taught about development, and that's particularly focused in the second degree. And in the third degree, it does reflect upon death. everyone's mortality and the fact that it is an inevitable destiny.
So Freemasonry claims to be an above-board and open organisation, freely offering any information that the public asks for, with a few exceptions that they still hold secret. Rituals and handshakes have grabbed the public's attention for some time, but will the Freemasons ever reveal the truth?
This is the Virtual Master's chair in the east. Being in the east, as the sun rises to open the day, so the Virtual Master is placed in the east to open the lodge. The next chair is the Junior Warden's chair, which is in the south, denoted by the sun, which is at its meridian. On his pedestal is a rough ashlar, which is referred to during the first degree or entered apprentice's degree. This is the second most important chair in any Masonic lodge and is in the west. It is where the Senior Warden is placed to mark the setting sun to close the lodge at the end of the evening. On the pedestal is a smooth ashlar, which is part of the ceremony during the second degree, where it is further smoothed and prepared.
There's not much wrong with a society wishing to keep some secrets, but where do these secrets come from? What's the purpose of secret passwords and grips?
Thousands of years ago, when stonemasons were going from town to town as one building was completed and they were going off to work on another one. They didn't have degrees in those days and a degree certificate. So when they got to a certain level, by their master craftsmen, they were shown certain grips and told certain words that when they went to another town, they could say those grips and they could evidence their ability to do the work and their qualifications by certain grips. That's where they come from.
I think it's fair to say that Freemasonry is not a secret society. If I was to walk rather into the local conservative club and say, what are your rules and regulations? They would turn around to me and say, I'm sorry, but you're not a member.
There is no such thing as a Masonic handshake. Does not exist. There are, of course, and people, if they so wish, can look on the internet and they can find out exactly what the past grips are, very different to a handshake, which are used only within a Masonic lodge room to prove as part of the ceremonial that somebody has remembered something from the previous ceremony to prove that they are ready to progress to the next ceremony.
Penshaw Monument is an impressive construction, but it seems that it bears a connection to Freemasonry within Durham.
Penshaw Monument's obviously been standing since 1844 when it was built, and it's quite an impressive site. It was actually built as a monument to Lord Lambton. It was built out of public subscription as a tribute to him when he passed away. It was opened by Masonic procession, which is something that you won't see very often. There was a Masonic procession when the Corn Exchange in Sunderland was originally opened, and there was a grand Masonic procession when they opened Penshaw Monument. Masons came from far and wide, trains were laid on, and there was a grand day out for all, and they actually went and laid the foundation stone by Masonic procession, and there's a great long list of people who actually attended from far and wide.
If Masonic processions were so integrated within communities, what could have possibly forced Freemasonry underground?
During the awful conflict of the Second and the First World War, as well as other peoples who were persecuted by evil regimes, it included the Freemasons, and Freemasons were persecuted. So there was a decision made that Freemasonry should be quiet and should be private about how it operates. And I'm just over 50 years old. So in the time of my early youth, Freemasonry was very private about what it did. 50 years before that, it was very open. And that's where we're trying to be again now.
The organisation is widely perceived as being male only, refusing entry to women, which has built a reputation of sexism around Freemasonry.
I am forever confused about why people think of Freemasonry as a male-only organisation.
I decided I wanted to become part of the Freemasons due to the influence of a friend of mine and work colleague. We were meeting socially and I was taken along to a Masonic function, a ladies' night, which is basically a celebration of the ladies, the wives of the Masons, and they have what you would technically call a dinner dance.
As I understand it, there are 4 Masonic organisations operating in England. One of them is for men only, and there are a couple for women only, and one of them is for men and women. The Order of Women Freemasonry, otherwise known as OWF, is an organisation that's been going over 100 years. Same structure, as I understand it, the same rituals, very similar, if not the same regalia. And so Freemasonry is an organisation for men and women.
Now it would seem that Freemasonry doesn't discriminate on account of sex, but can the same be said in regards to religion?
Freemasonry has a couple of very important rules, and that is because we strictly require our members in Masonic circumstances not to talk about religion and not to talk about politics. Because let me say this, Freemasonry absolutely and categorically is not and never has been a religion. What it does do, it requires every member to have a religion. People who are atheists and therefore don't have a belief in a God wouldn't, in our view, find satisfaction in Freemasonry because the ceremonies wouldn't make personal sense to them.
One of the most popular theories is that Freemasonry is geared towards global domination. They are likened to mythical groups such as the Illuminati. But even if they aren't trying to take over the world, are there any dodgy dealings within the organisation? Some have said that the society is rife with corruption, giving leniency when it comes to breaking the law, and providing benefits when it comes to business.
You're not meant to get any advantage out of it. I certainly didn't. I started as a police constable and I ended as a police constable. So, you know, if I'd got any Masonic advantage out of it because there were senior officers who were Masons, I would have been a sergeant, an inspector or above.
Freemasonry has the strictest rules of membership in relation to obeying and complying with the laws of the land in which you reside. We've got processes in place whereby if anybody doesn't in any way comply to the law of the land, if they have a conviction, it's required as a condition of their membership that they disclose that. And we have internal structures in place that is very likely to sanction people, and it makes it a very safe organisation to ensure that there is no corruption.
That you have a friend who's got a particular skill, and he'll come along and he'll fix something for you, or he'll mend your computer or something like that. That's being a friend. That's not taking advantage of anything. But I certainly wouldn't countenance accepting someone asking for a Masonic favour that would be detrimental to myself or against the obligations that we took.
Another hidden aspect of Freemasonry is their work in charity, which, despite their best efforts, has remained a secret to a majority of the public.
Being a Freemason is primarily about being charitable and honest and true to yourself. I'm now involved with the charity which is run by Durham Freemasons, Durham Benevolence, and I'm assisting there by being a liaison officer for a local sheltered housing that we run. It helps us bring in charitable funds for the charity.
When I was first interviewed by the Secretary of the Lodge, that involved him visiting me at home and sitting down with me and my wife and basically explaining that there would be a certain number of meetings per year, there would be a certain amount of money for annual subscriptions.
All the funds we raise are raised internally. We don't go out jingling cans or packing bags at the local supermarket. It's all done by the Freemasons themselves.
I find a great benefit out of Freemasonry because I do like to support charity, and I find it very helpful that the amount of money that I wish to give to charity, I can give through the Freemasons Grand Charity.
During that time, I've also been charity steward and the benevolent representative. That entails looking after, at the moment, about 16 widows. And apart from a Christmas meal that we organise, it also means making sure that financially and health-wise, they don't have any problems. If they do, then, depending on their circumstances, if we're able to, we assist them. At the moment, we're giving them about £30,000 per year, purely to local charities. Additionally, if there's ever an international disaster, such as Nepal and the earthquake, there's an immediate donation, I believe about, say, £50,000 goes to the Red Cross or whichever charity is dealing with that emergency.
Another part of Freemasonry's charity work is their project for providing comfort for sick and injured children by presenting them with teddy bears in accident and emergency units.
I'm Kenneth Edward Coatsworth Howe. I'm a Freemason. I have been an assistant provincial Grand Master, and I was honoured to be appointed chairman of Freemasonry in the community. And during that time, I was privileged to have launched the Teddies for Loving Care project. And the teddies are given to children who enter the accident emergency units, either because they've had an accident or because they're ill in some way. And those teddy bears are given to the 6 accident and emergency units in the hospitals in the province of Durham, Gateshead, South Shields, Sunderland, Hartlepool and Darlington. I had to go into an accident emergency unit at University Hospital about 6 months ago, and I took a whole pile of bears with me. And as I was waiting in the waiting room, there was a father sat beside me, and in his arms was about a 3-year-old child. So I said to him, "Can I give your child one of these bears?" He said yes, so she took it. And then off they went into a treatment room, and when they came out, the child was looking over her father's shoulder at me, clutching her teddy bear, and she waved at me, and she said, "Thank you for the teddy bear." And it was so moving, and that summed up exactly what this Teddies for Loving Care project is all about. The money that we raise as Freemasons is only raised within the Masonic community. It's Freemasons who are making these donations.
The reputation that Freemasonry holds, good or bad, true or untrue, is strong. But what gets overlooked during all the speculation and theorising are the people behind Freemasonry.
I've been a Freemason now since 1992, some 23 years. I was taken along to a Masonic function, a ladies' night, and I enjoyed it, and my wife enjoyed it. And over a short period of time, I was asking him the questions about Freemasonry, and I quite enjoyed listening to what he was talking about. And I thought, yes, I could quite enjoy getting involved in that.
Well, in the beginning, I didn't really know anything about it, and I'd never heard anything bad about it. And I became aware through a friend that his future father-in-law was a member. That was a man called Arthur Howsam. He used to play for Sunderland in the 30s. I lost my father when I was 18 years old. Whenever we went to a social occasion, we would generally go back to Arthur's house. And Arthur Howsam was a kind of man that anyone would respect. And then, after a few years, my friend said, "Arthur is asking, would I like to become a Freemason?" And when that request had come from such a man, I didn't hesitate.
I'd been going to the Masonic Hall since I was about 12 years of age. My grandfather was a volunteer barman. So on the day that the Scottish and Newcastle truck came with bottles of brown ale and amber ale on it, I would help my grandfather by pushing the trolley with the bottles on and stacking up the bar. So I was always interested in the organisation. My grandfather, being old school, would never allow me to go upstairs in the lodge room. So I was always keen. I never had any doubt I would do it. I do wish now that I'd known and my family had known there was a possibility of getting permission to join before 21. And if I'd done that, I think I would have liked to have been a member earlier. But as it happens, joined at 21, I've been in 30 years, I've loved every minute of it, and I highly recommend it.
I was actually approached by an old friend from school when I was in my 20s, and he asked me if I'd like to join the Masonic Lodge. And that was the instigation to think, well, my father's been in it, his friends have been in it, I think there must be something in this. So that's how I got into it. But before that, I hadn't really thought too much about it, I must say. And I've had the privilege of meeting men from all different backgrounds. And I would have never had the opportunity of meeting them if I hadn't been in Freemasonry.
The attitudes of my family when I became a Freemason, my wife was very supportive of it. She'd obviously experienced the ladies' nights and some socials, and she thought the people she'd met were really nice people. My father was a miner, and his attitude was one of all the Masons as corrupt and what you're joining that lot for, etc. Eventually he came round to my way of thinking when he saw, or when I started to explain some of the things that we did and some of the charitable things that were being done, and he did change his attitude somewhat. My mother, I think, was proud of me when I became the master of my lodge. My father had passed away by then.
As I've become involved with the lodge, and on the charitable side and on the sociable side, she's well aware of what I'm doing and the time that it takes me to do that. Similarly, the two boys have grown up while I've been a Freemason, so there has been a lot of help, effort, support from my wife and the two sons, which I really appreciate.
I know of one person, the mother was a single mother. She had 2 children and she lost her life, and the children were brought up by her grandparents. The father was a Freemason, and Freemasonry came to give them assistance for educational purposes.
Apart from meeting, kissing, marrying my wife, the birth of my 2 sons and one of their weddings, the 1973 Cup final where Sunderland won, and they're not necessarily in the right order, but should be. Becoming a Freemason was the best thing, or one of the best things rather, that's happened to me in my lifetime. And I would recommend it to anyone.
So where are the secrets of Freemasonry? Where's the global domination, the devil worshipping, the corruption? The organisation has its secrets, but they seem to be nothing more than traditions they prefer to keep within their society. We went looking for the sinister side of Freemasonry. The more digging we did, the more good we found. We wanted to hear what's lesser heard about Freemasonry, but we didn't get what we expected. We discovered different secrets. The secrets that have been hidden in the shadows of paranoid speculation and theories of conspiracy. The organisation's work in charity, within its separate communities and across the globe, and the sense of goodwill it wishes to impart on the world. These are the true secrets of Freemasonry.